Login accepted.
Hey, welcome to the tech capital of the world from an undisclosed location, Kevin. I'm still been demoted to somewhere south of Siberia, but we're here. What's up?
Yeah, hey.
Oh.
Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, Zuck, hold on 1 second. We just got to do the thing. Hold on. I'll be back.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a little population one with Mark Zuckerberg.
Just chilling with Zuck on the quest over there. Yeah.
So we're going to be supported by Zuck now. That's
hey, that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's not what we're here to talk about today, but that would be cool.
So, yeah, what we want to talk about is something important. I think that all developers need to happen, and there was a big announcement yesterday from Facebook and Meta, and talking about the metaverse. And a lot of people have been laughing at the early versions of this. You know?
Oh yeah, it's got a lot of flack, especially around the advertising stuff.
It's not going to work. And so, like, as a society, sometimes we see people show an early version of it, and we're like, "Oh, that sucks. That's not going to work." And what they don't realize is they're not done yet. Like, they're still working on it. And so, Facebook, if you watch the release, is committed to doing this in open. They're going to show you the iterations, the release. They're not going to wait to the end. And so,
they said
that's a risky approach. You know, Apple's different. Apple's going to hide their glasses until they're perfect, and then they'll announce them. You know,
that's
so like
100% kick back on that to say like that's something that they're like, hey, we're doing this out in public. We get it. You're going to criticize us for doing this stuff potentially. It's not always going to be a finished product, but we're going to do it anyway.
Right. It's really like, you know, if you're writing an article when Ford released his very first car, you know, and you're comparing it to horses at the time, you're like,
oh, I'm sure it was weird. Yeah.
This is not going to happen.
How are we supposed to put gas in this thing? Where does that come from exactly?
Where's that happen? You know, like my horse is faster than this hunk of junk, you know, like, you know, those kind of things. I'm sure that people wrote articles, you know, back then and back in the day. But it's not where it's at today. And what we're going to talk about is where are we going? Like, where's this going? You know, that's what we really need to talk about.
Even where it's at today, I would also say most people don't even understand where we're at today. Because most people, obviously, an overwhelming majority of people don't have a VR headset. They don't have an AR headset or a mixed reality headset, what do you want to call it these days.
Right.
So most people aren't experiencing even what we have today. But they'll devalue it. They'll say, like, that looks silly. It looks terrible.
Never going to do it.
And it's just not going to happen. Like, trust me, it's going to happen. As soon as you start experiencing it and start playing with it and realize what it can do, you're gonna have a mind change. It's going to happen.
So this is the thing that people need to think about. And we've been saying this for years now, that there's this coming screen shift, and people sometimes hit me on Twitter and like, hey, when's this going to happen? You've been talking about AR forever. You know, I'm like, yeah, I am. But I do know the screen shift is coming. But I want you to remember a statement from Bill Gates way back in the 80s. When they were talking about the first personal computers, Bill Gates said, and people laughed at him for this. He says every desktop in the and he was just talking about the office environment will have a computer on it. And everyone's like,
every desk.
You can't put a mainframe on everyone's desktop. What are you talking about, like, Bill? And not only, I think even Bill's vision was short of where we're at today. Not only is it in every desktop,
in your pocket.
It's in your pocket, it's at your home, it's everywhere. Bill was just had this vision of the workplace. Everyone's gonna have a personal computer on the workplace. It's the personal PC. The personal computer is in your pocket. It's in your phone.
Happened fast. His vision happened fast for that. It really did. Within a decade, that happened.
That came around.
It came around fast, didn't it? For the office environment, definitely.
For sure. You know, and so what people don't understand is what I've called this is the screen shift. And so the screen shift is happening right before your eyes. But if you go back to 1987, 88, late 80s, Bill Gates and this other guy, Steve Jobs, were talking about making personal computers. They made the Mac. Bill Gates made Windows, and you can say what you want. He copied Xerox. Maybe he did. I have no idea. The point is, the screen shift happened, and we went from a mainframe centric where you had just a few developers working at the bank coding with punch cards or making the mainframe do the bank stuff to suddenly the computer's on everyone's desktop. And so suddenly they're like, yeah, this is great. What can I make? Can I make an app for this thing? What do I do? And then you had the revolution of what we see now, which is modern development, where suddenly we were building apps for everything to make it run on this computer. You know, suddenly you built Lotus 123, and you needed a spreadsheet. Before
Right.
you didn't need a spreadsheet. People wrote it down in ledgers. Like accounting
Right.
and ledgers
Yep.
and paper,
Digital ledger.
and
Yep.
you just
All it
like
really
flip
is.
through the book. And you had file cabinets, and suddenly Lotus 123 allowed you to put the numbers in a spreadsheet. You could modify, and you could take the average and all that kind of stuff. And so those are just the apps that happen. And then if you fast forward from like 90 to 97, in 1997, you had what we would call today the modern web was born. Now, we had HTML before that. We had all these other things, but like
it became mass adopted, didn't it? In the
mass adoption right around where we started writing server-side code, and we had these like full stack web applications right around the mid 90s to 97 is when that screen shift happened, and that exploded development. So development exploded from 87 to 97 with just desktop development. That's when I broke in the early 90s. I'm writing codes to read sensors off engines. That's what I'm doing for a living. At the under the age of 30, like, hey, I'm making these engines read speedometers and things like that from a desktop using Windows 3.11. Then in 97, I built my first website for a really large health insurance provider, made one of the very first open enrollment applications for insurance, And I can remember walking down to them, and they would mail these things out. And at the time they were like a mailroom, it's like stacks and stacks of things. And we worked for the Fortune 500, basically all the Fortune 500 were all using them for benefits and enrollment.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what if we put this on a webpage? I remember distinctly talking to this lady, and she goes, what's a web page? What are you talking about?
That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah,
they'll fill out a form, and then you don't have to mail these papers around. And they're like,
so does the computer throw it in the mailbox? Like, how does that?
Yeah, exactly. And so you had to explain to them what the modern web, and that was the web revolution.
Yeah.
And then and that exploded. And then suddenly, if you were around and you were coding from 97 to right around 2002, if you just had a .com idea, you got funded. I mean, like, people were making
it was nuts.
Buku bucks for the dumbest ideas ever. Yeah. Like I just need a website that does anything and I'll get funded. Because everyone exploded. We did have the .com bubble burst, and a lot of people always point back to that. But I always say it was a burst, but it was kind of like a deflation. It didn't stop.
There was no value in the first place, though. That was the issue. That's why it was a bubble. That's why it was different.
Yeah. And so, but the revolution for coders and developers kept exponential growth. Salaries are still going through the roof. People are still making lots of money because of the screen shift. And people that weren't coders suddenly knew how to make a web page. They were getting jobs. They were founding .com companies. And if you don't think I'm right, think about the companies that were born from the web revolution. Well, let's look back at the desktop revolution, the very first one from the 80s to the 90s. Yep. We have two companies specifically.
They're still massive today. Exactly.
Massive companies.
You still got like IBM as well, and companies that are still huge companies. IBM is still a massive company. You just don't consumer focused. You just don't know it. But trust me, they're a massive company.
They're a massive company, but think about what happened is that IBM was the big blue. People walked around, and they invented the blue suit. I mean, like, if you worked for Microsoft, of IBM, you had to have a blue suit, and you walked around in a coat and tie. And then these two dudes come along, and they're working literally out of the garage, and they upend the entire industry. And now Bill Gates is one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Yep.
Maybe he controls world politics. We don't know, but he's definitely influential in the world. Like whatever. Steve Jobs is definitely influential. Yeah, exactly. Whatever you want to attach to him, whatever you want to do. But he's influential, is what I'm saying is, and they dominated an industry that was dominated by mainframes, and so then they built this, and then. Steve Jobs wasn't done. Not only did he come with a personal computer, he comes out in I think it's 07. Is that the correct date?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
When he held up an iPhone, he says, everyone, and this is an iPhone, it's a Samsung device. Samsung's glad that Steve Jobs invented it. Everyone's going to have one of these. And I remember watching this on the news. I remember watching this keynote address, and there was a kid working for me that was a graphic designer. And he says, I got to leave right now. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I'm going to go buy an iPhone. I'm like, why? What do you mean you're going to go buy an iPhone? He says, you can surf the web on an iPhone. I'm like, who's going to surf the web on a 5-inch device? I mean, and so I totally misread this screen shift at the time it was done.
I would say most people did at the time.
Microsoft did. Microsoft did. They didn't have a mobile answer. Like, what are you going to do? They didn't have a web answer actually for a while. And so they misread the screen shift. So we've had a desktop screen shift. We've had a web screen shift, and we've had a mobile screen shift. And every single time companies are born. And so from the mobile, you can see every modern social media, with the exception of maybe Facebook came out during the web, but Twitter was born because there was a mobile device. Instagram, mobile first. Snapchat, whatever you think of them, they were in vogue for a little while, but still today they're publicly credited. They were all mobile first technologies. And these companies turned into massive screen shifts. Not to mention, some dude made Angry Birds and he was making upwards of $50,000 a day in Angry Birds, sitting in Vietnam or wherever he was.
Oh, that was Flappy Bird was the one.
Flappy Birds, Flappy Birds. So people made massive fortunes because they adopted the next screen shift.
Right.
And what we've been saying for a couple of years, that there's another one coming. And I'm telling you right now that this screen shift is coming. And there's a couple things that we're going to see that's going to make this massively adoptable. But the technology now is there. So if you look at Tom Cruise's Minority Report, except for telling the future, like you said, we're kind of there. Yeah. We already have biometric gloves we don't need gloves, actually. We're beyond that. We can have gesture support.
I mean,
those kind of things.
Quest 2 that I have, which is a consumer headset, you can get it now for $400, $400 or $500, depending on which model you go for. You can get it as low as $400, has hand tracking on it. You don't need to wear gloves. It has and really good hand tracking. And it keeps getting better. Every time they introduce a new version in it, it keeps getting better. So the software is making improvements in it. It's getting good.
I'm going to go against what we did earlier to set this shot up. It's I'm going to show them that I have AI hand tracking in the camera I'm looking at right now. This is called an Insta360. And so I can hold my hand up and watch it. It'll track my face when I move. So and things like that. And it's tracking my face. I'm not moving the camera. I'm just moving around. It'll track my face. And that's because it's tracking my face, and I can turn that up, and I can turn it on and off with a hand gesture. Sometimes it works. You have to get it out of my face. There it goes. And now it won't track anymore.
Yep.
So that's cool. And so the AI hand gesturing stuff is coming. And so Meta announces this yesterday, and they're talking about all these integrations. But the thing that's fascinating about Zuckerberg, and I haven't been a big fan of Facebook. I've always said, if any of the social media giants go down, it's Facebook.
That's the one.
That's the one. I'm not worshiping at his feet.
I think now Meta's different. I think it's different. It's not Facebook. It's not Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not
and
what they want to be.
What he said is he's not going to build a walled garden. I think what he's thinking about is he wants to build the next AT&T, the next phone company that is the backbone of communication between devices. Yep. And that's where he wants to live. And so any device, whether that be the Oculus or whatever they're calling it, or Samsung will come out with a headset, Apple's going to come out with a headset, I'm sure Microsoft's working on the HoloLens, they'll all be able to connect to this one place that you can interact with.
He specifically called out in his keynote thing, interoperability and having cross-device compatibility. Mm-hmm. He specifically called out cross-device compatibility.
Yeah. Now, is he going to make the best device? That's what he's hoping. Apple has maybe the best phone device. You may hate Apple, but there's a lot of people who say, it's still the best device. But there's other devices, the Samsungs and, the Motorola's of the world, that can still place a phone call between them and an iPhone device. And so Apple doesn't control the backbone. And I think what he's talking about here is a new backbone. But for developers, it's a screen shift. In other words, the next app that you build, just like you were on an iPhone, isn't going to be a website. iPhone native apps aren't built with HTML. Now, they in a sense try to make it to where you could. But if you look at the way Microsoft is heading, and you look at things like Maui and things like that, they are quickly moving away from saying that, hey, the next thing isn't HTML and JavaScript. The next thing is some kind of native screen technology. And that's where WASM, .NET Maui, and these kind of things come in, where we can render this with some other kind of markup. And in their case, it's XAML, but other people will have a different type of markup. Now, it also may hold true that they may just port HTML to these things, but HTML isn't designed to
I think that's an interim step. I think we will see that, but I think that's an interim thing. I don't think
it's an interim step.
I don't think a website will still somehow be created in a similar way it is now for at least years in the future. But I think it's an interim thing. I don't think it'll be in 10 years' time. I don't think we will. I think it'll be a totally different technology.
Something else.
It'll be something else.
And it's
not a flat screen anymore.
Yeah, it's a screen shift. And so like what happens is when the screen changes, the technology and how you build it, the tools and everything changes. And it just happens that now Facebook is trying to come out with the tooling now. So we don't know what that's going to be. So they've announced things like TypeScript, maybe the language. I don't think it's any way, shape, or form done. And I also believe, TypeScript. Yeah, Microsoft is probably thinking way far ahead of like how we're going to port things like C# and these things to it. That's why WASM exists. That's why Maui exists, because they know the screen shift's coming. They already have their HoloLens project. They already know. I think these guys are probably I guess not officially, but talking about like what's going on. You know, like hey, you know, like you know, sitting around.
Oh, definitely,
like, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you exactly what we're doing, but like, you know, and I'm not saying the web is dead. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying JavaScript is dead today. What I'm saying is the screen shift's coming. So if you want to currently write for a HoloLens or you want to write for an Oculus, what you're really writing is video games. And so like you need to write video games like Unity is currently kind of where they're going. Now, will that change as we go forward? Yes. Will the techniques that you have to do change? No, that is set in stone. Like we're going to render 3D objects in space. We got to learn how to build those types of things, interact with those things, display information in those things, and whatever that is. And so if you think I'm crazy, the other announcement is that Microsoft's porting Teams, Office, cloud gaming, Xbox gaming, all of that stuff is going to be ported to the metaverse.
Yeah. Yep.
The question is, what is the screen they're going to use to access that? They're not questioning whether we should or not port it or whether the metaverse will work or not work.
Yeah.
They know it's going to work. What is the screen? What is the technology you're going to use to do that? And that's going to be some type of VR device. Now, what's also exciting about Facebook, what they said was, oh, well, you can use a phone to get to this. You can use another device.
Because they understand what I was talking about earlier, that not everybody's going to have a headset instantly.
Right.
So you need some kind of interim step to kind of push people into it, where if I'm attending a Teams meeting and I happen to want to attend it in VR, I can. But you can also attend it from a flat screen, and you can appear in my meeting as a version of yourself on a flat screen. For me, but you're seeing my avatar potentially on your screen. Yeah.
Now, thinking about the avatars, going back to the avatars, it's like people are thinking, what's cartoony? I saw one of the comments right away. It's cartoony. It looks kind of meh.
Yeah.
They were showing avatar technology that was photorealistic. And they scanned Zuckerberg's face, and you cannot tell the difference between him and someone else.
So realistic.
It's so realistic. The joke was Zuckerberg's always been in the metaverse. He's not a real person to begin with, you know, like, you know, so like
it was that good. It was that good. It was that good. I was very impressed with that.
And so like, you know, the thing that's crazy about this, what people don't understand is the technology with Unreal Engine. When you look at the movie industry and when you look at things like Mandalorian, where we're doing set extensions now in real time with 3D technology, that's in real time. They're filming a movie and, you know, the actors are walking around this space and it's running the backgrounds in real time and they film it. That technology will be used in the metaverse where we have real-time 3D scene rendering that looks like the real world. It's coming. So, but what is the killer app? What's the next killer app? And I still
what is the killer app? Yeah,
the old thing's still true. Yeah, gaming, but it's not always going to be gaming.
It's not. So it's not. Gaming is just. Gaming's always the precursor for all this other stuff. It always goes this way. It starts out with gaming, and then there's this other thing where it shifts and it's something else. Right.
So I think we were talking about this, what the killer app was, and I think one of the killer apps is definitely going to be shared experience. So like, I'm an air conditioner repair person, all right, and I'm out there looking at an air conditioner on the top of a roof that I haven't seen before, but I've got the senior guy back in the office, and he's going to say, hey, you know, I don't know how to fix this. Can you take a look at this? And he can see the world through his eyes, and he'll say, yeah, you go cut the green wire. We were laughing like, you know, the spy movies where it's always the uneducated guys always disarming the bomb and the expert is no longer there. And he says, just cut the green wire. And he's like, they're all green, you know? And so he has to guess and he just uses the bomb because he's the hero. But here they can just look through the glasses and they can say, oh, it's the third one from the left. Cut that one, you know, or fix this or solder that together. The other thing that you can do is, I think, is augmented reality, which is an AR, which you overlay in the real world, which is like, you could look at that same air conditioner repair guy who's looking through it and he goes, oh, that part's on page 8 of the manual. Let me throw the manual up there. The manual goes up there and he flips through it and says, see there, we're on line 8. Now cut the green wire. And that's what you need to do. And so like, that is the shared experience and overlays into the real world, I think is where it's going to go. And that's going to hit the service industry, anything.
So with this, there's 3 types of technology to talk about. There's virtual reality, there's augmented reality, and there's mixed reality. So virtual is the all-in. That's the I'm in another space even though I'm in this room, right?
Right.
Augmented reality.
Walk around.
Hard to walk around, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't see what's outside of your glasses, right? You're fully immersed. It's fully immersive. Augmented reality is you're seeing the actual real world through a clear piece of something or clear something. Let's say it's glass. Like a HoloLens, and you are images are then projected onto that real world, so you can see the real world, and you're seeing the actual real world, and things are projected onto it.
And they're overlaid.
The new headset, though, from Meta is mixed reality. So it's kind of similar, but what it does is it uses external cameras. So the headset has external cameras. It takes the world that you're in, the actual real room that you're in, and it's taking a video of that, and then you're seeing that with the overlay, then video. So you're seeing video with overlays versus real world overlays. And that's the mixed reality thing they're doing. What wins out here? I don't know. Some combination of these. All three, maybe. Maybe there's a case for all of these things. I don't know.
Yes.
Mixed reality seems interesting, though, because it solves the problem that some augmented reality headsets have with view and just some of the things that it can't do. Mixed reality solves.
Right.
So maybe that is the one that we start seeing more and more and more of, because you still get that immersive thing because it is pulling in color images now. The Quest 2 will do what they call pass-through, right? The Quest 2 will do pass-through versions of reality through the cameras, but it's black and white. It's not high resolution. Then the new headset has high resolution, full color, so it feels more like reality.
Right, and I think you'll see a combination of both. HoloLens thinks that they're going to do overlays in the real world. It does things like mesh scanning, loading those meshes into the device. The Oculus saying, "Oh, we'll just project the screen or project the world with these cameras onto your screen." I think they're both going to have a place. They're both going to work, and for different applications that you'll have a different device. Now, the question is like, when does this become like real world? And so we've always said this for the last 2 years that Apple's working on this. Now we don't know. We don't. It's not like Tim Cook.
I've got an inside scoop, but it's definitely happening.
But you can look at now. They already have a Ray-Bans device, and you say, okay, it's going to be kind of like this. You know, the other thing that's interesting is in the Facebook presentation, they show a down thing where the guy's looking at his wrist and he sees information.
Yeah, they called that. What was that? That was the. That was the device where they're using the micro. What did that's called? That's the
micro hand gestures.
Yeah, the motor something control or whatever it's called. Yeah, that uses micro gestures of your hand.
But if you look close at this video, and I'm not trying to spin conspiracy theories, they don't show you the headset they're using. I promise you, this thing is
especially doesn't tell you the headset they're using. But what he does show is that he does show the pass through from the headset, and it is pass through. So it is definitely AR, not mixed reality. The headset is definitely AR, because you can tell he's looking into the real world with an overlay.
Yeah. So I think that when this becomes real, you're going to see this same kind of thing. Tim Cook's going to walk out on stage. He's going to be wearing what seemingly is an innocuous pair of glasses, and he's going to go, "One more thing." I promise you that's the line he's going to use. They're waiting to say it. They're waiting to do it, and then they're going to show the world from his glasses what he sees. So here's some other things that could be cool that I think is that you need to think about is, can you sell your experience? So right now you're on TikTok selling your experience. I'm
thinking this might be the thing.
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer experiences might be the thing. Because you're right, on TikTok, we're watching somebody do something, right? They're going to a baseball game and they catch the home run or whatever it is. Imagine you could actually, and you're seeing that from somebody else's view, but imagine you saw that from their view. Interesting.
Yeah, I do think there'll be new forms of entertainment that will be born out of this, where you have a first-person experience form of entertainment, like where maybe you experience running from Jason or in the movie or something like that, and it's kind of crazy. So like truly like holodeck type experience when you look at Star Trek, where there'll be events and movies and things that are filmed this way to give you that kind of visceral experience. Or maybe I just have courtside seats at the Lakers and I can sell my view on my own with my own glasses, and you can watch the Lakers as I see them, as I experience. I can see a lot of people being able to sell that social media.
I wonder how that's going to work. Like, 'cause you know how protective the NFL and NBA are over their licensing, right? Like, what's to stop
Well,
somebody going to a game and
recording my
broadcasting
vision.
it? Yeah. Like, how does that? Who owns that?
Nothing.
Easy, right?
They do. Yeah, you own your experience. So, like, I think that's going to be, maybe it brings up a new form of litigation, but I think programmers are going to build experiences and applications that do just this. So, you go live from a YouTube and it's from your glasses and it's just your vision seeing what you're doing. So like you turn to get a hot dog, the screen changes, you know, I can just see it now.
And then people yelling at the dude like,
turn back to the game, moron. You know, so his chat's up in his AR right there. Oh, sorry, man. Like, you know, like whatever, you know, or they just have a director from it say, okay, Bobby, I need you to go stage left. All right, ready? All right, cut, action. And I'll turn, you know.
I think there's some kind of simplistic peer-to-peer application here that is a killer thing. I think it is kind of a new kind of social media thing. Short of like sporting events aside, just like chatting with somebody who's walking down a street or something is like a social experience where it's like you're getting kind of their view of the world or something. Or I don't know. There's something to be said too where we're talking about these avatars, whether you can look like somebody. How much am I willing to pay to look like Brad Pitt in the metaverse?
Yeah,
trust me, that's coming.
We're paying tons of skins in Fortnite. You know, you're paying all kinds to get that money in Fortnite.
Microtransactions, I was talking about this on Discord earlier with people, but microtransactions are going to be a thing. Like advertising, microtransactions, those are going to be massive in the metaverse.
I need to go ahead and get the Bobby Davis skin made right now because I think that's going to be a hot seller.
You think it's a big sell? You think you're trying to compete with Brad Pitt here? Like
that's right. I think I can. I think I can do it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? People want to like, you know, walk in your shoes. Like it's going to be a thing.
Yeah,
it's 100% going to be a thing. I think an actor's going to be able to sell their likeness. 100%. I joked about it before, but it's going to happen.
We do have like the cameras now that work in action sports, but it's going to be live and it's going to be real. So like you'll be able to see like, you know, when someone is cliff jumping or whatever, you can sort of see that today, but it's always in a post record. But now you can see, you're going to be able to see this live. It's going to stream live right to YouTube. And there'll be a whole new brand there'll probably be a new streaming service that comes out that helps facilitate these types of experiences.
100%.
So like, that's the thing about these shifts that happen. It always displaces someone big and it always brings someone unheard of new. And so like I always said, the screen shift will happen like this, that someone will not become relevant like you think. And then someone's going to invent something that you didn't know you needed, but you have to have. And that's where this is going to happen. I do think augmented reality, as cars become driverless, will be the windshield, will be a way for you to get contextual information based on your location. So hyperlocal ad display. So someone may figure out how to deliver this better than Google does. And suddenly now they're the dominant ad provider, you know?
Yeah, the ad provider is going to be where the money's at. It's either going to be Google or it's going to be somebody else who provides ads.
Right, but it could be Frank, some guy in his basement right now.
Exactly, it could
you know,
be.
that you have never heard of.
Could be.
And suddenly he owns the Lakers, you know, like, you know, he's a billionaire, multi-billionaire.
It's going to be all about contextual information. Right, that's the thing. It's contextual information. That's going to be the new thing. Like we were talking about earlier. Like if I'm walking down the street and I see somebody walking the other way and they have a pair of glasses on, and I'm like, man, I want to buy those. And the AI in my headset recognizes what that is. And I'm like, hey, glasses are like, yeah, I want to buy those glasses. How much are they? And it like tells me how much. I'm like, yeah, buy those. I need those. And that's it. It buys them. Like it knew it knew what glasses they were. It knew where to buy them from. Like the contextual information is just great. And then maybe that person gets a commission. Maybe it's some kind of like a commission thing. Like I've agreed,
affiliate links, baby.
I've agreed that I've affiliated these glasses. I've said these glasses that I'm wearing right now, that I'm wearing, or this hat that I'm wearing, it's an affiliate. So if you walk down the street and you see me wearing it, you're like, I want to buy that. I'm going to get a percentage of that sale.
Yeah,
that's a killer feature.
Use of QR codes.
Exactly. Yeah,
you QR code everything on your body.
I'm like affiliating everything. I'm in for everything. Exactly. I'm like, oh my entire outfit is, my car is. If somebody sees my car and they're like, oh, I like that car. Yeah, like, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that. And it's an affiliate link, and they buy it, and I make a piece of that. That's going to be insane. It's the new influencer. It's the new way that an influencer can make money.
Right, and they already do that to some degree now. Where you know, Kim Kardashian will wear an outfit, and they're linking that entire thing, and you can see what she's wearing or whatever it is. You see people on the red carpet. What was she wearing? They always ask, "What are you wearing?" and that kind of stuff. Who is it? And that's how they make money. And so, like, I think that this could be the new thing, and it is coming. It is coming, and I think it's going to come pretty quick now. The technology is catching up. So, I say go home and watch Minority Report. It's on Netflix now, you know, and go watch it. And it's
So here you
funny
go.
that movie is now coming.
Exactly. So Lala's asking exactly this. Like, how do you position yourself? What's the best way to kind of like put yourself in a good position for this screen shift? What do you do? What do you do right now?
Right now, it's game development, so it's Unity, and so like taking a Unity tutorial, figuring out how do I create games, how do I do those kind of things. That's the key to do this. Now, what would I say if you're watching this and you have no coding job? What would I say do? Learn web development right now. That's today.
Right. Right.
24 months from now, I may have a different opinion on that. But if you're already coding, you understand code, I'd be watching a Unity tutorial right now on Udemy. So I would learn game development, and that's the common skill right now for all of these things. I do think the programming, the tooling, and everything will change.
They did talk about some new tooling as well, so there is some new tooling that's easier for people to get to hang with. I think Meta will have their own tooling. They will provide that. They want people to create experiences for this. It will come.
Yes.
I'll also say I would advise getting a headset. Buy a headset. It's $400. I know it's not the cheapest.
You've got to emulate it somehow.
Exactly. You need to be able to understand the problems and how people experience it to be able to create for it. I think that's important. I don't think you can create it in a total sandbox and not have a headset. I think you have to kind of experience it to understand what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. So she's asking, what was the Netflix thing to watch? Minority Report starring Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, Minority Report. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that. I don't know when that movie was filmed. You look it up.
I'm just gonna look now.
But it's gesture based AR world that they run around in AR world, and all the screens are based on gestures in AR world, and like we can do that right now. Like there's ways to do that right now. HoloLens isn't too far from that. Being able to do that, already has gestures work. They were putting on gloves to do it. You don't even have to do gloves. In a lot of ways, we're more advanced. It's on something that's free. I thought it was Netflix.
I'll tell you where it's at.
I was watching it the other day. Maybe it's on Prime. Maybe it's
you have
Netflix.
too many streaming services. That's your
I know. Yeah.
So it's the one from 2002.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
Nah, it may have come off.
Maybe it's come off.
It's not on any streaming services right now. You can rent it.
Okay.
It's actually through Just Watch. It's not on any
Prime.
Yeah, it's not on any free streaming services right now. You can rent it for $3 from most places. So
sorry, it's not free.
It's not free. But not that it's free anyway. But
I got my affiliate code down there. You can click on it.
But the one from 2002, because there is a show as well, which I haven't seen.
No, I'm talking about the movie. Yeah,
the movies. Which I haven't seen the show actually.
No, I haven't either. I didn't know there was a show.
Yeah, 2015 the show, which is on.
So it's not about future crime. I hope for God that doesn't come true. But like,
yeah, it's more about their the way that they use the screens and they use a headset and they use the gestures. That's the thing that you want to kind of look at.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Super interesting. It doesn't feel too far off in the future now. It really doesn't.
And so Conway says it's currently these things written in Unity, and Unity is the current dominant way to write video games for these different platforms. And you can go look at the announcement for Meta and see kind of what they're recommending at this point. But I do know that you can take a Unity pair of glasses or Unity course and port that to Oculus, even though that doesn't necessarily mean that Oculus they have their own tooling, but right now Unity is the way to go for now. And you're gonna learn like, how do I do game programming? It's different than writing websites for sure. So different UI,
C-sharp, though, right?
C-sharp's on the back end of it. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So I think this is the one thing that will probably save Unity as a company. They were having some problems. I mean, this is going to explode tech like this. Does that mean that Microsoft is working on something? Yeah, they're working on something too. Their own kind of mixed reality development platform. I do believe they'll release something or buy Unity or something like that, but they're going to make it way easier to do.
Yes, definitely.
Sure.
I think we'll see tooling from the actual people. We'll see more meta tooling. There was one thing. What do they call it? It was Spark, I think was the thing from
that's
Meta.
Microsoft.
No, there was a Metaspark Studio. Here you go. Hold on, let me share this.
Yeah.
Because this was the thing they actually talked about too. I'll go to this one. This was the thing they talked about. This is Metaspark, so you can create augmented layer of the metaverse. So they have these tools already to look at. So Playground for creators, you can create these like phone apps and things. Kind of interesting stuff. They
Yep.
have a certification in it too.
Can even get certified now.
But yeah,
So
this is kind of interesting.
I do think this is the next screen shift, and you're seeing it. So I do believe that this is going to happen really hard and fast now, and then you're going to see this happen. So
I think a lot of these, if you're creating those, like you can create those camera overlays in like Instagram. That's just how they create those, or through this Spark tool. I actually played with this, and it's very, very simple. It's like this. It's a 3D environment, and it uses a lot of drag and drop stuff. There's not a lot of coding in this. It's
a node-based editor.
Exactly.
So if you've used some other some of the other editing tools out there, they're node-based.
Yep.
So but it's a combination of like art and coding and design, and so eventually a lot of these will be segmented, and you'll write just the code, the back end pieces.
Yep.
But the tooling will come, and Microsoft is working on some tooling. And and what this meta announcement allows us to do is probably accelerate what's going on with Apple, accelerate what's going on in Microsoft, because they don't want to be absolutely last. Now, Apple and Microsoft generally are always second.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They come in and they kind of take market share. The problem is with them is that now this is Facebook. This isn't just a startup, and they have just as many billions of dollars as they do, so they can compete heavily on it. So they'll get out there. And Microsoft is actually partnered with them, so that I think they know where it's going.
Yep. Here's the crazy thing too, right? If you really start looking and start digging into this and start reading and know a lot about virtual reality and augmented reality and mixed reality, the stuff that we're seeing from Meta isn't even really cutting edge stuff. They're not even first on this stuff. There's other companies out here that are selling. You can buy a $22,000 headset, right? Right now, you can go order this thing, right? And this is cutting edge technology. This is like full mixed reality, full visual pass through. It exists. It's just not It's just not attainable for anybody yet. The technology is there. They've built this thing. They just need to get to a point where it's affordable. So Meta bringing out this $1,500 headset, while it seems expensive, it's not. The technology it's got, it actually has forward in-facing cameras that look at your facial expressions.
Right.
And your avatar on the other end will now give you facial expressions. We'll see that next time in a Meta 3, which will be a consumer product. I'm sure we will. We'll see that in the next Meta version. That's going to be $400, $500.
Right.
Like you're going to see this technology trickle down. It's kind of cool. We're going to see it. More and more cool stuff's going to come to the affordable price points for sure.
Yeah, so I think this is coming. The screen shift's coming. And if you're out there coding, this is some of the things that you could start looking at to see kind of where you're going to fit in this landscape. And we keep talking about this, and eventually we're going to have a show, Kevin. From here when we say, "Told you."
We won't, because it'll come kind of incrementally, and then it'll just happen, and then we'll be just like we'll be talking about like. Are we talking about this back in?
I've been saying this for years, and I'm like, sure, you saw it. Yeah, sure, you did. Yeah.
You remember 2020 when we first talked about this being a thing? Yeah, okay. It's kind of funny, too, because Zuckerberg actually used the terminology screen shift, too, in his keynote, by the way. He actually used the words screen shift. Like, yeah.
He did use the words. I'm like, he stole my word. He's watching the YouTube channel. He's a subscriber. The Zuck.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see. What's Kevin say here? Kevin says, I'm currently learning Unity 3D and C#. The other technical skills I should acquire to build AR, VR, MR experiences.
That's where you need to start right now.
I think that's it.
And they can show you how to build layout screens and UI. And, some of them be simple. We're just trying to figure out how to overlay information in the world. So it could be a simple screen, a form of information. How do I do that? How do I present that?
I think that's what we'll see.
A lot of cloud-based services will still be in vogue. So the fact that we have Azure and AWS now, we can render these things on those cloud platforms and then present them to them. So you're still going to be using the same kind of back-end services programming that we do today. These glasses are going to be connected. Not everything's going to run locally. It'll run locally, but the data will come from the cloud. So you're going to see lots and lots of still cloud engineers and those kind of things, the traditional things that we're doing today will be integrated.
I think what we'll see initially is some kind of hybrid, right? I think we'll see the 2D web world will be put in the 3D metaverse environment as a 2D object of some kind.
Yeah,
right?
like a flat browser screen.
Exactly. We'll see a flat browser screen of kind of Chrome. We'll be able to surf information on it kind of real time when we're out and about or whatever it is, right? Then we'll see kind of a hybrid away from that where we'll see like maybe a part of that becomes more contextual, right? So maybe it's not a web page anymore, but maybe it's still 2D, right? So it's still some 2D kind of information. But ultimately, I think we go to more of a 3D environment where obviously the end goal is you can pick up an object and kind of turn it around, and you can kind of then, the contextual information is part of the object. So my mouse, for instance, I have different information on the top of it versus information on the reverse side of it. So we'll see that's kind of the longer term thing that I see happening. But I think for right now, like as a developer, you're going to be kind of, I think, porting 2D environments into this 3D world. I think that's going to be a thing.
Right. Another thing that I think you'll see is like, just like, they're asking there, do you think WebAssembly is part of this? And I'm like, yes, I think this is why they're making it. It's like, because like you need to, eventually you may be running this in a browser, but you need to do something way more powerful than what JavaScript can really do. And so that may be the initial port there. Or it gets leapfrogged altogether and something totally new, different comes out. And so we're currently right now, if you want to build a native experience at Unity, could we run a web page in a VR glass? Yes, you can probably have a Chrome right now and look at it. But what can that thing do? Well, WebAssembly opens up a whole new layer of things that you could build that you want to build. The other thing that's going to be important is voice support. So learning how to build your app so it doesn't have to be clicked on, or, even though gestures are widely supported, you do want to say, hey, buy this, do this. Hey, Siri. Those are the types of apps also that'll be really part of voice support and building that into your app. So learning about that too.
Yep, those are definitely getting better. I agree. The voice control is going to be a thing. We've had that for a few years now, and it is getting better.
Right.
Although some, people can joke about.
Well, not everything is interrelated or connected yet, but like you definitely can buy stuff with voice, for sure. So.
Oh yeah, you can right now. You can ask
Amazon wants you to
ask your Amazon lady back here, which I don't want to.
They want you to buy it when you don't mean to think it.
Exactly.
Oh, you said buy it. No, I didn't say that.
She keeps asking me.
I said
all the time.
I don't buy that when my wife was telling me about what's for dinner.
Exactly. Mine keeps asking me like, "You want to do?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that." What are you?
Shut up, Siri.
Exactly. I don't want to buy that. What's going on? It's the Amazon one that's always asking me stuff. It's like, do you want to do this? I'm like, no, I don't. Turn that off.
I think
I don't want to do that.
Throw up Mark Drake. He just put in a very interesting quote in there, and I think he's exactly right. And this is what I'm saying. AR, VR, MR isn't so heavily explored that everything's been figured out yet. And that's what you need to understand. Everything hasn't been figured out. It's just still coming.
Yeah.
Like, the Steve Jobs and Apple did not have the iPhone totally figured out. At least on the App Store format, we had to figure all of this stuff out.
Well, it launched without an App Store. Don't forget, they actively said they're not going to have an App Store because that was the interim step. The interim step was to use web pages as apps, and that's what you did.
Right.
Your web page was.
And then they said, "We hate ActiveX." No.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it is an ecosystem, and there's going to be a new store. There's going to be new things. Why do you think all these game companies are launching their own walled gardens? So you have BattleNet, and you have Bungie has their own thing. Steam has their own thing. Yeah. All these people are trying to set up like, I want to be the next store. And what is that store? It's going to be AR, VR apps, which are games. And so like you may be releasing everything to Steam. And this is one that Steam suddenly becomes the new app store that everyone
and Steam has one already. They have a VR app store. They do. It exists today.
And they already have built out this whole structure to do this and how developers get paid and those kind of things. So that's what I'm saying. It may not be Apple that wins this day. It may be someone else. And that is the thing that I'm excited about, because that is the thing that gives people like us a new chance to break in, a new chance to go be the next Zuck, next Zuckerberg. He was nobody until he built a website for Facebook.
Right. I also think there's an opportunity that's less than that too. You don't have to be the next $1 billion thing. There's going to be companies that will need to be in the metaverse. They will need developers to put themselves in the metaverse, whatever that looks like, whatever it is, whatever that looks like. They will need developers to do that, and that's where that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, and I see James asking a question. Do you think someone's asking about the salaries are low? Like, why would I do this? They can't even get paid as a web developer. And I'm like, the salaries are low because the demand's low. The reason that web salaries are so high is because the demand is high. What I'm telling you, the demand's going to change for this. And then once the people that know how to do it, they'll be able to make money. And
because there has to be a pivot, right? Because there won't be web developers anymore, like in the same level that there is. There will be, because just like there is assembly programmers today, they'll still be there, but there won't be as many.
Right. And I don't think that when you're talking about being good at math, that's true if you're working on the physics engine for Bungie or you're working on the physics engine for Fortnite. But there's a lot of parts in this where you're just coding like everyone else. And you know how to do it. You don't necessarily have to be great at math. I also think all of this stuff will be obscured from or abstracted away into a different layer that makes this a lot easier to do, that you'll have some of this stuff that's built out, that's under the hood, that makes it work, that you just utilize. And these are called libraries. And you can see .NET Framework has lots of libraries that just abstract us away from HTTP and all the.
Yeah. I mean, we're using them today. We're using them today in web dev. You're not building. You're right. You're not building everything from scratch today. You're just not like you were back in the 90s. You had to build everything. Like,
yeah. And so Unreal devs, yes, I get it, you know, but I can tell you the guys making Unreal are trying to like, how do we make this more accessible to more people? The more accessible they make the tooling, the more developers they can do. It means that the more apps get built, which means that if the more apps are built, the more they can license Unreal Engine or whatever the engine's going to be. I mean, so that's their goal is to make it easier to do. And that's what Microsoft has made a fortune doing, is making development easier to do, you know, and then everyone has followed suit, you know. So they've made a fortune in making these things really cool, easy to develop.
Yep.
All right, what other questions you got?
So have you heard of Godot? I guess since I had a C# well. This is the thing too. There's going to be more than one competitor in this now. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's the Wild West at the minute. It really is. Yeah. Like this could be the dominant force in this could be anybody.
That's a new one for me. I have not heard of that one. So you know,
we're talking about like Meta with headsets and Apple with headsets, but it could be some third party. There's third party making headsets right now. We just don't talk about them because they don't have the same same clout that these bigger companies do. But that's not saying that they won't always.
Yeah, and what I'm saying too is like if you go to Unity right now, you're going to learn the necessary skills to pick up whatever the dominant new framework is, and that's the same thing right now. You know, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you have a server-side language, you can pick up React or Angular, or it's not like you're starting completely over. You just need to know how to build a game at this point, even if it's a dumb game, even if it's a stupid game. You need to know how to do it. You know, watch a tutorial. In fact, I'm going to say it. My son is a coder, and so we're going to work on a game this weekend just for fun.
Oh, there you go.
So we have an idea. We're going to build a tower defense game.
Okay, I like it.
So we're going to build it in Unity, and you know,
can I play it on my Quest?
I don't know yet, not yet, but maybe. Now that is the tower defense game that I want to play. You know, where you take over the tower from first-person experience. You know, shoot the balloons. You know, like if you're playing balloon power defense.
We were talking the other day. Like there's a VR game right now. There's an NFL VR game. You can play the quarterback. You can be the quarterback in an NFL game. Like the experience side of it is the thing. It's very immersive. VR is very immersive. It's kind of crazy. You have to experience it. And somebody just telling you like, it's great, like isn't enough. You've got to, if you know somebody with one, I'm telling you, just go ask them to have a demo on it. They'll throw you.
Population 1 is cool. I mean, I haven't played it yet. I've seen it. Population 1 is cool. That's the game that I would like to play. I need to get one and just play it.
Yeah, it's fun.
So it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right. Let's ask a few more questions. Anything we got, and then we'll hit it for the road. It's almost time for lunch.
Said I've done Snake and Pong so far in Unity.
Yeah, man. All right,
that's it. You got to start somewhere. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. The 3D UI designer jobs might be a thing in that thread. Imagine UI being on your side in addition to in front of you. Yeah.
I think 3D UI designer is a thing. I mean, just
100%.
So those tools are 3ds Max, modeling tools for Cinema 4D.
Blender was another
obviously
one.
Blender's free. Maya is another one. And so when you're looking at like, if that part of the industry intrigues you, learn those skills, because that's modern game development is what they're doing. Yeah, it's gonna be a thing. You know, and we think NFTs are big. Wait till we start selling skins, you know, of our. It's gonna be cool. I mean, like there's gonna be a whole new thing, or you got to make some models.
Yeah, microtransactions and visual things are going to be a thing in this. It is a very visual thing. So,
right.
Just like
You just have to watch Ready Player One and see kind of how that would work out. Ready Player One's a perfect example.
It's a perfect example. Exactly. That is it. That is exactly it.
You had to pay for how your look was, your avatar and your skin.
Yes, you literally do that right now in games like Fortnite. You buy a skin. That's it. The game itself is free. The core game is free. But if you want to look like the standard guy and not pay anything, you can. But most people will buy the skin. It just anybody here who has ever played a game of Fortnite, if you load into a game of Fortnite right now and there's 100 players in it, right? You will not see a single person in that lobby that does not have a special skin on. That's insane. Man. That means they somehow purchased that, either through a subscription where they pay to get those skins, or they purchased the skin. That happened. And I'm talking about spending money. Everybody's spending money. They're making millions of dollars a day. That will translate to VR and mixed reality. No question. Your avatar, you will be buying skins for it. No question. That will happen. Because it's not limiting people. It's not saying like you can't play. You can still play, but you're going to look bland, right? And people that's not what people do.
Yeah, so Eduardo is asking, when is this going to happen? When's the screen shift going to happen? And I'm like, it's happening. Now it's going to ramp up. There's going to be a point to where this is the way everything's built. And it could be something where there's a lot of opportunity out here in this space. There'll still be web dev jobs, still be mobile dev jobs, still desktop jobs. It won't be overnight where this is the only way it's built. But I do think the ones that adopt this early have the potential to make a lot of money early. And opportunity is given out to people that can do things that other people can't. So learning it right now is probably a good bet because it's still infant. It's even though Facebook and Microsoft are talking about it, it's still in the infancy. I don't know how many headsets they have in production out there, but it's not like enough. A cell phone quite yet. It's not enough.
I think the pivot point is one of two things for me. The pivot point is either the killer app from somebody that everybody feels like they have to have, right? Everybody needs it.
So that was email for desktop.
There you go, email for desktop. When that happened, everybody's got to have the email, so there you go. It's going to be that. Or it's going to happen with a killer device. So Apple said set. I'm just going to throw it out there. Apple said set.
They do set.
When Apple comes on the thing and says, here you go, you have this thing, and it's $600, and now everybody wants it, that's the shift for me.
Yeah,
it's going to gradually happen until this point, but it's going to be one of those two things. It's going to happen, and there's going to see
it's going to happen like
we're going to see an overnight shift. Then we're going to see everybody wants it. It's going to happen in a year.
So, I want to happen. I think I'm not an insider, Apple insider, and so you could go to Mac 9 to 5 or these other guys that know way more about what's going on in there than I do. I think the headset comes out in the next year. But I've been saying that for 3 years.
I know. Yeah.
But
I've also had that same feeling like it's coming, and it just doesn't.
Yeah. So here's what I do believe will happen. I don't think there'll be that many leaks about it. I think I do believe Tim Cook wants his one shiny moment. Says one more thing.
Yeah, because you're right. He hasn't had one yet, has he? Really?
Yeah. This is going to be kept secret. I think they do. We talked about this the other day. Apple gets leaked. I think that's on purpose so they can have a pre-release of what's happening and then get a buzz built out. But I think they'll have one of their fall events where he's going to walk on the stage, talk about the iPhone 17 or 15 or whatever it is, maybe show a new camera or whatever it is, and they'll go, oh, one more thing. And they're going to clink on, and the screen behind him is going to be his vision out to the world. And he's like, this is the Apple Glass.
Maybe. We'll see.
And then suddenly every Apple store will have people around the block and you can buy it right now. It's and they'll flood the website. People will be waiting in line to get it. It's going to be big. And they'll announce a store with it. And suddenly you'll need to be able to get those early adopter apps in there somehow, And so
think about this. They've had AR in the phones now for the past 5 generations.
Yeah, they have a great AR toolkit.
They've had an AR toolkit. The software's been there for a minute. So they already have a selection of applications that will immediately work out of the gate. And that's the other thing they're working towards as well. Take the IKEA application, right? You can put a piece of furniture in your room right now through your phone screen. But so they have the apps, the Adidas app, right? You can wear the shoes. You can test them on your feet right now with the phone.
Yeah.
So they're building out this suite of applications so that when it does launch, they're not launching with nothing. They're not launching with a piece of hardware alone. It's the software's already there, and there's a lot of it. So that's another reason I think that it's soon. I'm gonna say soon. I don't know when soon is, but soon.
But when these glasses come out, you'll be able to build a you know, you can use the Twitter API and go and build your Twitter clone right there on these glasses, and it'll make sense. So they can see their tweets in real time, and you have the better interactions or whatever like that in the Twitter app.
Yep.
And you know, I think that could be kind of.
What about an app like when you walk down the street, right, and you see somebody and they've opted in to like show you their latest tweet, or they want to show their political affiliation above the head or whatever it is. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm a Republican right here, MAGA hat right there.
Exactly. It's a virtual MAGA hat. It's right. Exactly. Like, is that a killer app? I don't know. Like, is that? Like
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, you're bringing in like that anonymity of the web into the real world. Like, I don't know. Do people want that?
Well, I think
I don't know, but it's
the
a thing.
political one's a little far because in our current environment, regardless of
I
the
don't
hat
know
you had
that.
on, you're going to get tackled on the street.
Well, that's true. Well, that's true. But people are wearing the actual real one, so you know it's like
exactly.
tackle that person too. I don't know, but you know. But is there a virtual version of that where like that could be an interesting thing? It doesn't have to be
a Raiders
affiliation,
fan.
But like,
I can see like the sports team, you know, go Raiders. It's above your head like that as the game comes out.
And then whatever the dating version of that is too is going to be a thing.
I'm available.
Like, I'm available. Right? Because right now, let's take the dating version of that, right? You're using like Tinder or whatever, and you're flicking left or flicking right, whatever it is, swiping left, swiping right. Like, but imagine if there was a real version of that. You go out to a bar environment and people are like either like available or unavailable. Like,
not available.
That's kind of interesting. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like setting your status, right? It's like that's kind of an interesting thing. I can see that working.
It blurs your face automatically when they're looking at your AR glasses. I'm not available.
They've actually had that in there's a Black Mirror like that, where that's an actual thing. Where they do have like the actual implants on, they do blur people. Like you can block somebody. So blocking somebody was literally kind of turning them off. Like, you can actually do that. And that's a thing.
Claire says she can get her own CF cap with the VR.
There you go. We're gonna have the augmented reality photo Foundry cap. You know,
with Mr. Taco Cat on it. You know, now we can put Mr. Taco Cat. We sold Mr. Taco Cat. So,
this is it, Ridge Raider. The do not disturb is going to be a thing.
I'm blurred out, man.
That is going to be a thing. That was on a Black Mirror episode, by the way, where they did have that.
Okay.
They definitely had so they had the implants at this point. So it was non-optional, right? So you had to.
Right.
So it was the third party opted out. So they opted out of being like, I want to block you, and they blocked the person. And then whenever they saw them in public, they were just a pixelated mess, and they couldn't hear them. They were just all in the background. Like,
that's crazy, right?
Crazy, but not super far-fetched.
Yeah. I can see people turning their wives off. You're blocked now. I don't want to hear it.
I'm sorry I didn't hear you. You were blocked.
I couldn't hear you. You were blocked.
That marriage ain't lasting very long.
No, it's not. She's we're divorced. So
she's already turned on the "you can't block me" filter. So it's like that's already been.
We're married, fool.
We're married.
Take those glasses off.
Yes, you can't actually block the person that you're married. That's. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoyed the conversation here. So let's go eat some lunch, Kevin. Go get some virtual tacos.
Yeah, let's go get some augmented reality tacos.
All right. Well, keep coding, guys. We'll see you next Thursday. We are releasing some pre-record videos here soon, and we'll get those out to you. And we'll be back next Thursday and talk about something else interesting. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep coding. See you.
Catch you guys later.